How was everybody after Dubai? Did you find it was a worthwhile exercise?
Yeah, it was good. We know what we get there in terms of the training facility, the hotel, and everything around the place. So, and from my perspective, in terms of the football side, it was a really good trip. We got a lot of work done, which would have been difficult here considering the weather and the circumstance we've got here. So, really good sessions, really intense week, and hopefully that sets us up well for the remainder of the season now.
I'm sure you'll be aware there was a bit of criticism and some questions asked about the trip. How would you defend the decision to go there and what happened while you were there?
Yeah, I think what happens is when we made the decision 2 months ago, really to we looked into the options in terms of was it an option to get away, in a training camp, which we've done previous seasons, considering the situation we were in. At that time, things were looking better. There was light at the end of the tunnel. They were talking about bringing fans back to stadiums and everything else. So at that time, we sat down, spoke about it, went through all the right channels, with the government, with the joint response group, and made the decision back then. Obviously, things changed, and even the final lockdown came when we were actually in Dubai last week. So, things changed very quickly, in terms of normal life. But, in terms of our bubble, we've stayed in our bubble. We've continued to work in that, and, we've worked alongside the government, alongside the SFA and everyone else involved to make sure, we continue to follow all the protocols and advice that we get. We did that in Dubai, and, with a really good training week, which, hopefully will be of benefit to us for the remainder of the season.
Just finally from me,
you think? Sorry, Gavin, on you go.
Just finally from me, you're getting into a run of games where there's no margin for error. How do you get the players to kind of ignore that pressure, relax, and play their games? When they know in the back of their minds that they can't afford to slip up.
Yeah, listen, we've just got to concentrate on ourselves. We know we've put ourselves in a position which is, difficult. We didn't want to be in this position, but it is what it is. In terms of the positives we've got to take is, in the last period of games leading into Rangers, we put in some really good performances, really strong performances. And even in the Rangers game for 60 minutes, it's as good as we've probably played there for a period of time. So, really happy with that. Really disappointed with the result. The red card obviously made life difficult for us, but, it is what it is. We just got to get our head around that and really attack the second half of the season with real purpose and drive to do our best to try and turn that around. That's all we can possibly do. Is to work as hard as we possibly can. We know there's not a lot of room for error now, but that is what it is. We just got to attack it and do what we can.
John, do you have any regrets about the decision to go to Dubai? Anything that could or should have been done differently?
I think probably you guys back here probably get a snapshot of, one or two pictures that might kick around from maybe local people or people who are on holiday, and it paints a picture which is probably a bit false in the terms that, the whole week, we had a lot of work to put into the trip itself. We had a lot of people who spent a lot of time and effort travelling out there, before we arrived, making sure everything was ready for us. In terms of the protocols in Dubai, the hotel worked very hard with us in terms of giving us our own areas. We had our own, pretty much for a period, our own tower, our own eating places, our own meeting groups, and we pretty much left in our own entrance and exit. So at no point did we have to really go into the main part of the building. We were kind of kept aside, and again, it was just to try and follow the protocols. We went through before we went there. We took advice from the usual advisors. We made sure we were following all the protocols we had to, and that allowed us to train well. In terms of the facility itself, the training sessions we got out there, the work we got done, we couldn't replicate it here, and that's been the same in the past. And to give ourselves the best opportunity the second half of the season, that's why we went there, to work hard and train well, and it's always worked for us in the past. So, here's hoping that can be the same for us.
The photo or photos you refer to appear to show players and staff not adhering to the 2-metre social distancing rules and guidelines. Is that something maybe that you regret?
Listen, there's been slip-ups with minor things that, if you get a snapshot of something, you can criticise and jump on it. We, as much as we possibly can, speak to the players, in terms of the protocols they must adhere to, because everyone wants, football to continue. We want to abide by all the rules. And if there's any error in that, then obviously we try and eradicate that or fix it, and that's what we did. The picture obviously again paints maybe a bleak picture, but we've got to move on from that. The government and the SFA have said there's no really a case to answer for. We've submitted, what we need to, and they're content with that. So we just have to concentrate on moving forward now.
You say there's no case to answer, and that you've spoken to the SFA and the Scottish Government. Is that while you were over there, or since you've come back, or because the government were asking for it to be?
Obviously there's been contact, maybe asking the question about when we're over there, but we've submitted all, what we've did every day, and the protocols we've put in place while we're there to mitigate any sort of risk, and they seem quite content with that. So we just have to move forward now.
Just John, finally for me, if I can, just on the testing, have you done, or when is your latest set of tests due? Because I guess that will be a key factor if you're all negative again.
Yeah, we were tested on arrival back last night, and there's usually a 24-hour turnaround time for that. So, we should receive that in the next day or so.
John, can I ask you, I'm well aware that you have had all the official clearance that Celtic should go. Was there a moral dilemma that you thought right up until the wire where the club considered this might not be the best thing to do, bearing in mind the restrictions around the whole country?
Yeah, I think it's a difficult one, Peter, because there's so much work put into it, and I understand the situation out with, our club, but the latest lockdown did come when we were in Dubai, so we travelled out there, thinking, right, everything's okay, we're good to go, we've had the approval, there was no travel restrictions, we went over there on our own flight, we didn't, mingle with anyone in that respect, and when we arrived on the Monday, then it was announced, by the First Minister that, there was going to be a further lockdown, so we were already there when that came in, and that's when it probably looks worse as well, but, it's difficult for you guys, you're obviously based back here, or anyone looking at it from afar, but when we were there, we were based in our hotel. We didn't go outside of that other than going to the training complex, which again was pre-approved, was all protocols were put in place, and then we returned to the hotel. We ate together. We didn't mingle with the others in terms of the buffet, the restaurant, all that. We had our own eating areas, our own meeting places, and we tried to limit the risk as much as we possibly could. So, that's the situation we were in.
A couple of quick points on that then. You've mentioned that the squad has had tests. Is there a slight fear at the moment, hoping that no one returns a positive test, because that puts you right behind the 8 ball?
Yeah, but I think it's, everyone's in the same position. You look at Aston Villa last night, they didn't travel anywhere, and they've got a number of positive tests. So, we can't pin it all just purely on us deciding to go to Dubai or not. Around the country, the country's in a very difficult situation, whether it be in sport or outside that, and no one wants to get the virus, but unfortunately the way it is, and it's difficult to control, people are going to get it. We obviously try and limit the risk as much as we possibly can in our bubble, but in the period so far, we've had a couple of tests ourselves, and guys have been away on international duty and everything else. So again, we just have to, every time we approach a new hurdle, we just have to cross that and deal with it as it comes.
Tell me then, from what you've seen in Dubai, from what the manager's spoken about, do you sense, a lot of Celtic fans are deflated at the moment, do you sense that this side is capable of going on a 19-game unbeaten run with 2 victories against Rangers to win this league?
Yeah, it's got to be our mindset. There's nothing else for it. We've got to approach it, as positive as we possibly can. We know the situation's difficult. We know the challenge, but we'll never lay down and allow things just to pass. We're going to attack it. We're going to go with real purpose and drive to try and turn that around. And hopefully at the end of the season we can sit down and be in a better place, and we'll look at it then. But we'll take each game as it comes. Again, we can't look 19 games ahead and say, yeah, we're going to win every one. Our approach in every game will be to win it, and that'll be the end of it.
Is there any on Filip Benkovic? Has there been talks? Has the manager had talks to strengthen the centre half position?
It's probably a position now where Christopher Julien's situation, being injured, that we have to look at. We're a bit short in that area now, and Filip is one who we're very well aware of and we've spoken about. He's a guy we know what he's capable of, and he's a guy who's been here and knows what it's about. So he's certainly one he's on a short list in terms of options to strengthen the centre back position.
Is it important, John, to get that business done as early as possible, and are you on track to do that?
Yeah, and I mean, we've been chatting all along, even leading into now, and even more so as Christopher Julien's situation came around. But again, we want to try and get it done as quickly as possible, but it has to be, right for everybody. It's not always as easy as saying, yeah, that's what we want, and we go and do it. There's other clubs involved, there's the player themselves involved. So I'm sure Philip or anyone else will have a number of options, and it's up to us if they're the right person for us to go and try and convince them we're the right club for them too.
Yeah, and looking ahead to the match on Monday as well, playing a Hibs side who have not been in their imperious form as they started off the start of the season. What sort of tests do you expect there?
Be tough. Jack's a good manager and a good coach who always sets his teams up well. Watch their game leading in at the Ibrox, where they played very well against Rangers. And every team has a period in the season where, results don't quite go your way and you have a couple of sticky results. But, they're a good side with good players, good coaching staff there. So, it's always a tough game and we have to be, prepared for that and ready to go on that.
And is there any injuries? I know obviously Near Beaton will be suspended as well. Is there any other injuries or team news for that game?
No, nothing new. Everyone, completed all the sessions while we were in Dubai, trained really well, and we didn't pick up anything new. So it's the same squad we had available for Ibrox last week.
John, will Shane Duffy come back and join the squad, or is he going back to Brighton?
No, well, Shane will be very much with us. We've not no intention of sending him back to Brighton. So he's one who's with us. He's in our thoughts. No committee consideration. Going forward.
John, any other positions that you're looking to strengthen, if you can, in the transfer window, apart from the centre half position that you've talked about already?
That's probably the primary one. In terms of other things come up, and we've got Mikey Johnson now came back from injury. We were a bit short in the wide positions for a period of the season there. James Forrest is continuing his rehab and progressing well on that. So, if there's anything else, maybe an extra wide player, but again, it's not an easy position to find at the moment, especially mid-season. It's difficult to get the right ones, so we just have to, monitor that, and if the right option becomes available, it could be a possibility. But again, the squad we've got is strong. We feel we're in a good position now in terms of the depth within it. So if we can add bits of quality around that, great. If not, then we just have to get the head down and take the rest of the season on.
And how's the manager? Is he fit? Is he well? We shouldn't read anything into his non-appearance today, should we?
Who's that again?
The manager? Neil?
No, he's just got other business on at the moment, so he was dealing with other things. So unfortunately for you guys, I've been put on front of you.
Hi John, it's Keith from the Cynic.co here. You were talking about the areas that we're looking to target. How extensive is our scouting? What areas do we look to cover? And will Brexit impact any business that we look to do this transfer window?
Yeah, Bill, I'm not totally clued up 100% in terms of the Brexit stuff, but we have discussed it. It does bring new challenges in terms of bringing players into this country, and with the kind of new restrictions that will come into place. So that's something we need to be well aware of, and Nick Hammond and his team are very well aware of that. In terms of our scouting, we've got Nick's been in for well over a year now and put in some new processes and brought in new personnel within his team to make sure we're covering as much as we possibly can, finding talents that, and I think nowadays the one is that so many clubs are all fighting for the same, places, same players, they're in the same areas. So you just got to, do as much work as you possibly can behind the scenes to try and be ahead of the game and try and, get there before the others do, but in terms of that, we just got to, keep finding the players, keep improving as much as we possibly can, and the scouting and recruitment's a massive part of that in football.
Last week, for a good 60 minutes, the diamond in midfield seemed to give us a lot more control over that match. Is that a formation that you can see us moving forward with, or with players like James Forrest coming back, would it be some variations on that would be looking to do?
It's worked well for us in the last period. It's something we've looked at and spoke about for a little while. We kind of toyed with it. Actually, this time last year, we played the first cup game against Thistle with it. And then just with the personnel that was available at that time and the playing squad, didn't quite fit at that moment. Now, we found ourselves short of wingers. We need, us as coaching staff and the manager, have to come up with solutions for that. It's one we've always looked at, and just with what's available, we felt it was the right right time to roll it out. It fitted what we had available. We felt when we did it, it worked well. We did a lot of work in it in training. The boys adapted to it really well. And considering we've only really played it for, the best part of less than a month, going over to Ibrox and playing as well as we did was, really positive for us. Gave us really good control in the game, as you said. It gave us a real threat counter-attack in terms of with the two strikers and the 10 in behind there. And it allowed us to control their style of play a bit, the way we pressed it and the way we controlled the areas of the pitch that we know Rangers try to take advantage of. We did that really well. So it's a good system for us, but we also got to be very flexible in that. We played a lot of 4-3-3 and 4-2-3-1, which, in a lot of games can work for us. We've also did a bit of 3-5-2. So again, it's good to be flexible and be able to adapt when need be. Again, but at this moment in time, the Diamonds obviously worked very well for us in the recent games.
John, is James Forrest back in training yet?
Not yet. He's still completing rehab. Obviously, had surgery, but he's in a good place. He's not feeling any restriction now, and he's been out in the pitch running this last week, 7-8 days, something like that. So he's getting there.